There's a feeling you get right before your heart breaks. It's small at first, just a tiny shift in the air, a weird silence, a look that lasts 1 second too long. And that night, sitting on the couch, half asleep before work, I felt it. I didn't know the truth yet, but my body knew before my mind did. And honestly, I wish I had listened sooner, because what I found later that night completely changed the way I saw him and myself. I'm 26. My boyfriend was 25. We'd been together for almost 2 years, long enough to build routines together, long enough to feel safe. Or at least, I thought I was safe. I worked third shift. He worked first shift. So our schedules were weird all the time. Most evenings felt rushed, like we only had little pieces of each other, before one of us had to leave or sleep. But we made it work. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. The hard part is, this wasn't the first time trust had been broken. About 8 months earlier, I caught him cheating. Not physically, at least not that I know of, but emotionally, definitely. Late-night messages, flirting, deleting conversations, lying directly to my face. And the worst part, he only admitted it because I found proof myself, not because he wanted to be honest. We almost broke up over it, but somehow, I stayed. Because he cried, because he promised, because he looked at me and said, "I'll never make you feel that way again." And stupidly, I believed him. That evening started so normal. Too normal. We were sitting outside on the porch together. The weather was warm, quiet, peaceful. His phone was resting between us, while YouTube videos played. Just dumb random videos we barely paid attention to. I remember leaning my head against his shoulder. I remember feeling tired. My body always started shutting down around late afternoon, before my overnight shift. So eventually, I stood up and stretched. "I'm gonna go lay down before work," I told him. He looked up at me and smiled softly. "Okay, baby. I love you. I'll come cuddle in a minute." Nothing strange about that. Nothing dramatic. Just another normal moment in a relationship. But then, I walked inside, and something made me stop. Our couch faced directly toward the porch, through the glass door. Before laying down, I looked back at him one more time, and I saw him checking over his shoulder at me, fast, nervous, like he was making sure I was gone. My stomach tightened immediately. It was such a tiny thing. But when you know someone deeply, tiny things become loud. I slowly laid down anyway, tried to ignore it, tried to convince myself I was overthinking. But a few seconds later, I turned around again, and that's when I saw it. The second he thought I wasn't looking, he opened Facebook Messenger, fast, like he'd been waiting for me to leave. His fingers moved quickly across the screen, reading, typing, smiling slightly, and I swear, my entire chest dropped. I sat there frozen on the couch. My heart was beating so hard, it actually hurt. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe it really was his brother. Maybe I was traumatizing myself because of the past. That's what I kept thinking. But then another thought hit me. If it's innocent, why hide it? Why wait until I leave? Why check if I'm watching? The feeling became unbearable. So I stood back up and walked outside quietly. The second the door opened, I saw him panic. Not dramatically. Not enough for someone else to notice. But enough for me. His thumb moved quickly. The messenger screen disappeared. Facebook homepage. Too fast. Way too fast. I pretended not to notice. I wrapped my arms around him from behind. He jumped slightly. Jesus, you scared me. He laughed. But it sounded forced. His body felt tense. Not relaxed. Not natural. I rested my chin on his shoulder and looked toward his phone casually. But the screen had already changed. Gone. Whatever conversation it was disappeared instantly. You okay? He asked quietly. Yeah. I lied. And that was the moment. Everything changed. Because after that, the silence between us felt different. Heavy. Like there was another person sitting there with us. I went back inside. Laid down again. But sleep wouldn't come. That sick feeling in my stomach kept growing. You know that feeling when your brain is trying to protect you from the truth, but your intuition keeps screaming louder? That. A few minutes later, he came inside. You all right? He asked again. I nodded. Yeah. Just tired. But I couldn't even look at him properly. He stood there for a second, like he wanted to say something. Then he walked back outside again. That bothered me more. Why go back outside? To finish the conversation? Delete messages? Warn someone? My thoughts were spiraling so badly. I started shaking. When he finally came back in, he climbed on top of me gently and wrapped his arms around me. Usually that comforted me. Usually I melted into him. But this time, I just felt trapped. His breathing was calm. Mine wasn't. The room stayed completely silent. And eventually, exhaustion pulled me to sleep. When I woke up later, the TV was on. Blue light filled the room. He was sitting there, watching some random show. He looked over immediately. You okay now? That question again. Too careful. Too rehearsed. I swallowed hard. Who were you talking to earlier? He didn't even hesitate. My brother. Instantly. Too instantly. And that's when my chest sank again. Because I had seen the profile picture for half a second earlier. And it definitely wasn't his brother. But I didn't push. I just nodded slowly. All right. Then I went quiet. Because deep down, I already knew. I just didn't want confirmation. Later that night, after he fell asleep, I sat at my laptop for school. And then I remembered something. His Facebook account was still logged in. My hands literally started trembling. I stared at the screen for a long time before opening Messenger. Part of me felt guilty. Part of me felt desperate. But another part of me already knew. I wouldn't stop until I found the truth. So I opened it. And immediately, something felt wrong. The conversation with his brother? Inactive for days. No recent messages. Nothing from earlier. Nothing matching his story. I felt cold all over. Then I noticed something else. That weird encryption notification. The one that appears when messages are missing or deleted. My stomach dropped so hard. I thought I might throw up. He deleted them. He actually deleted them. I sat there staring at the screen, while memories from the first cheating incident came flooding back. The lies. The excuses. The fake promises. Suddenly, every small strange thing over the past few weeks started replaying in my head. Him turning his phone away slightly, taking longer in the bathroom, smiling at notifications, and hiding it, becoming protective over his phone again. I started crying quietly, right there at the desk. Not loud crying, the worst kind. Silent crying, the kind where your chest hurts more than your eyes. Because deep down, you realize you've been trying harder to believe someone than they've been trying to love you honestly. The next morning, I confronted him. I didn't yell. Honestly, that scared him more. He was getting ready for work when I asked, "Why did you lie about messaging your brother?" His whole body froze, just for a second. But I saw it. I didn't lie. Yes, you did. Silence. Then he sighed heavily and rubbed his face. And right there, I knew. I saw the messages were deleted. I whispered. His eyes dropped instantly. That tiny movement shattered me more than anything. Because innocent people look confused. Guilty people look down. Finally he sat on the edge of the bed and muttered, "It wasn't what you think." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because every cheater says that exact sentence. Every single one. So explain it. Another long silence. Then finally, it was a girl from work. My ears started ringing. I just stared at him. She's been going through stuff. He continued quickly. We were just talking. Then why hide it? He had no answer. Why delete it? Nothing. Why lie? Still nothing. And that's when the truth finally hit me fully. Sometimes the betrayal isn't even the other person. Sometimes it's realizing someone watched your trust heal and chose to damage it again anyway. He started crying after that. Actually crying. Saying he didn't want to lose me. Saying it wasn't physical. Saying he was stupid. Saying he liked attention. But honestly, I barely heard him anymore. Because something inside me had gone numb. After he left for work, I sat alone in the apartment for hours. Everything looked the same. Same couch. Same TV. Same kitchen. But it all felt unfamiliar somehow. Like the relationship I thought I lived in never actually existed. I kept replaying that tiny moment on the porch. That quick glance over his shoulder. That fast movement, closing the app. Crazy how relationships sometimes end. In tiny moments instead of huge explosions. Not with screaming. Not with drama. Just quiet realization. I thought about all the energy I spent trying to become less paranoid, trying to become more trusting, trying not to seem crazy. Meanwhile, my intuition had been telling me the truth the entire time. And honestly, that hurt almost more than the cheating itself. Because I abandoned myself, trying to protect someone else's feelings. That night, he came home and tried to hug me again. But this time, I stepped back, and the look on his face, I'll never forget it, because I think that was the moment. He realized apologies don't magically rebuild trust. Some damage changes everything permanently. If there's one thing I learned from all this, it's that your intuition usually whispers. Before your heart breaks, listen to it. Not every fear is insecurity. Not every suspicion is paranoia. Sometimes your body notices dishonesty before your mind can accept it, and love without trust becomes exhausting. You start questioning yourself more than the other person. You become anxious, hyper-aware, emotionally tired. That's not love. That's survival mode. I used to think being loyal meant staying no matter what. Now I understand something different. Real loyalty also means being loyal to yourself, to your peace, to your instincts, to the version of you that deserves honesty, even when the truth hurts. And sometimes, the hardest thing isn't catching someone lying. It's finally accepting that you deserved better the whole time.